I love SpongeBob, you love SpongeBob, and your dog probably loves SpongeBob. Especially talking about the first few seasons of the show, you don't hear anything but praise. However, today I'll be diving into what I think is the worst episode of season 1 of the show. I hope you guys enjoy the video. So from the first 41 episodes of season 1, the first episodes that come to mind when thinking of the worst are between Muscle Ball Buff Pants, Squeaky Boots, Reef Blower, Hall Monitor, and Sammy's Rocket. All of these suffer with not having the strongest of plots, and just having the characters fulfilling annoying roles. Let's dive into this a little deeper. Muscle Ball Buff Pants, of course, follows SpongeBob ordering Anchor Arms in order to impress Sandy. I don't have a problem with the beginning of the episode, but of course his plan backfires and he's looking like an idiot at the end. SpongeBob being boastful about being strong felt out of character in a way. And the ending was alright, trying to moralize the fact that you shouldn't take the easy way out when doing anything. I do, however, like as well when the crowd is cheering for SpongeBob in the beginning, and after losing the competition he was in, they suddenly started cheering for Sandy. And it was as well shows that true work is praised over something that is taken in the easy way out. Next, we have Squeaky Boots. Yeah, I'm one of the Squeaky Boots haters. Whether it's the scary memories of going through hysteria like Mr. Krabs, this one never felt amazing to me. I appreciate the fact the episode sticks with the fact that Mr. Krabs is cheap and SpongeBob is gullible. Those two traits carry with their characters respectively. SpongeBob believes he can become a good fry cook and the boots represent that. But Mr. Krabs is too selfish and wants to take the boots back. Seeing SpongeBob depressed after he loses his boots, was depressing. Again, Mr. Krabs' strange hysteria was interesting, and him just telling SpongeBob, oh yeah man, you don't need these boots, felt really awkward to me. Like, come on, having an item to push someone to do their best is never a negative thing. But at least he's somewhat complacent to SpongeBob at the end and encouraged him to continue improving, I guess, so there's that. Alright, next we got a Reef Blower. Okay, I know this seems not as fair to put on this list, but this is technically an episode, therefore I would treat it as such. For a 2-minute episode, the plot is pretty simple, with just a little gag of SpongeBob blowing a bunch of sand onto Squidward's yard. This episode is on the list here entirely for just being simple. It is interesting, however, to see the characters interacting without any dialogue. Sets a different tone, I suppose, but this episode's only made to fill in the 22-minute requirement for the show's release, so it's something special, but I can't really hate it that much. Next up is Hall Monitor. This episode centers around Mrs. Puff giving SpongeBob the role as the Hall Monitor. Now at first, you feel sort of bad that SpongeBob was ignored up until this point, until he takes his role way too far. He starts causing chaos for no reason. What was so bad that you really needed to assist the entire Bikini Bottom? It's these points where you question whether SpongeBob is a nonsensical moron, or if he's just not the brightest, but he still has common decency. Because in the early parts of the show, it would show that he does have common decency with a few gullible traits thrown in there. But here, especially being early on in the show, he just seems like, what I just said, he's a moron. Obviously in the newer seasons, it's not argued that he is not a moron, but it's just confusing what they were trying to go for here. Then after all the events in the episode, it ends with Mrs. Puff getting arrested for giving him the Hall Monitor role, and is now in jail because of SpongeBob. The woman just felt empathetic for once in her life. But whoops, she gets arrested for not the final time. And finally, we have Sandy's Rocket. The more I think about this episode, the more I start to dislike it. I do enjoy the beginning parts with SpongeBob first thinking aliens are on the moon, then switches to his opinion just because of what Sandy says. But then when Patrick, who SpongeBob does take advice from just like in Tea at the Tree Dome, tells him aliens do exist on the moon, and he starts to do something he knows he shouldn't be doing. But the part where I start disliking this episode much more is when they think they're on the moon. It's another segment where I just feel bad for people suffering for no apparent reason. Why should Squidward or anyone here be treated like this just because of what Patrick said? At the end, not even Sandy gets through to the two, and when they realize they're still in the Bikini Bottom, it just ends with them saying, uh-oh. Like, it just ends with no resolution, and just a problem that is ignored because there is no continuity in the show. And even when you rewatch this episode, there's nothing that's humorous at all. So there's not much going back on this episode for just such a boring ending. So after going through the reasoning for each of the episodes, which one do I think is the worst? And personally, I'm gonna have to go with Hall Monitor. While yes, this episode has a plot laid out well, the plot in the first place is hard to like. And the others are sort of the opposite, but I much rather have a plot that is done the best with weird timing than a plot that isn't the best but uses all the time it has well. Overall, Hall Monitor is the worst of season 1. It has the most underwhelming episode with little bits and elements that sink it lower than the other episodes do. But with that said, I do not think this episode is garbage at all. It's the worst of the season, but it isn't the worst of the show. But other than that, that is going to do it for the video. What do you guys think is the worst episode of season 1? Let me know down below in the comments. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.